Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. My name is Jacob Colshaw. I'm joined by Charlie Zazera, real football man, real stats man, real analysis man, to join us on the show today. No Sam Yuko. He's still recovering from Sheffield United away on Sunday, which we'll get into on today's show. There's a lot to get into. Sheffield United away, of course, which we'll start with the transfer window. News coming out about Mileta Rajovic leaving to Brøndby on loan to the end of the season. Festy Ebisele coming in. Shaq Ford leaving. We're going to go through our keep, sell, loan list, and we ask for your questions as well, which we'll touch upon at the end of the podcast as well. So stick around, leave a like on the video, subscribe to WD18, and comment down below your thoughts on anything we discuss here today. Charlie, it's great to see you back. It's great to see you. How are you, first off?
Yes, all good, Jacob. I had a wedding on Wednesday, best man speech, which went pretty well. Pretty happy with it. So that was good. And yeah, missed the Sheffield United game. There was a Hornet. One of the groom's dad's friend, I caught him watching the game on his phone. So I was trying to get around him by some responsibilities. So that was good. But yeah, totally missed the game. I know you spoke about analysis at the beginning, but there won't be any analysis from me today. Sorry, haven't had a chance to watch it, but we'll touch on it. I'll watch the highlights. And then, yeah, we wanted to talk about the transfers, didn't we? Kind of rate it and see after the window's been shut and the foreign window's been shut yesterday, maybe. That should be all the business done.
Yeah, how was the best man speech, by the way? Did you throw any curveballs in there? Was there anything off the cuff in the script?
A couple of late additions. Yeah, there's a good Chelsea joke in there because the groom was a Chelsea fan. Spoke about watching England away together. Yeah, a couple of jokes, a couple of in-jokes there, but yeah, it was good. It went well. Better than the first best man speech I done when I went a bit over the top. So that'd be my tip. Strip it back, go back to basics, and yeah, you can't lose.
Is that a sort of metaphor for Tom Cleverley's Watford at this moment in time after the weekend? Because he said that we didn't do the basics maybe as well as we did in the first 5 games of the season. Now, the first thing to say is it's not the end of the world losing to Sheffield United away from home. Chris Wilder, Sheffield United, they're going to be up there, I think, come the end of the season. My takeaway, and you can get the instant match reaction from Sam, who went to the game on Sunday, was obviously on Sky Sports as well. And his take was sort of what Tom Cleverley said, really. There was elements of the Watford performance which were good. I thought we had good spells, but individual errors probably cost us. I think the changes could have come sooner from Tom Cleverley. Probably the first negative thing I would say about Tom this season in terms of his changes. Could they have come on earlier? Could they have been slightly different in that second half? Maybe the reason he didn't bring on Rajovic was because he knew he was leaving. But overall, Watford's performance, Charlie, we'll take it right back to the start. The team, he started with James Morris. That was the one position which I think people looked at and thought, would Ryan Porteous come in at left centre-back? Did you understand why he kept an unchanged team from the first few games or so?
Yeah. We spoke about that kind of culture and keeping the shirt. And yeah, I think we spoke about it kind of just looking at the opposition, and aerially we might have been in trouble with James Morris. So would it have been better if Porto came in? And watching the first goal, it was kind of a long ball over the top, wasn't it? And James Morris kind of would Porto have got there and kind of Kiefer Moore got it and kind of recycled it back. But obviously I don't know how James Morris performed as a whole, or if they were dominant. Conceded on second minute for the second game in a row, not good at all. What do you make of that first goal? Who was to blame? I don't think Serralta covered himself in glory down back, but did he get beaten at his first post? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, it's back-to-back league games, as you say, Charlie, where we've conceded in the first 90 seconds, and there is something to be said about maybe us coming out the blocks a bit quickly, and we got away with it, to be fair, in the other games, but this one, maybe the added quality of Sheffield United, we didn't get away with it. In terms of the goal, I think it's a combination of Serralta and Bachmann. I think Serralta's, Callum O'Hare gets past his man far too easily, in my opinion. I get it, it's in the box. I get you can't lunge in, but it was too easy for Callum O'Hare to get round Serralta. And I've noticed this about Bachmann, who overall had a good game, I thought, on Sunday. Probably our man of the match. He made some really good saves for us. But he has a tendency, Bachmann, and he did it in the second half, where if a man's coming towards the near post, he actually jumps out to try and intercept the cross or the pass across the box. and it always leaves himself just slightly open at his near post. And I think that was just a case of that, where he's tried to predict the ball going across. It hasn't quite worked out, and it's gone in, and it's a Batman own goal. And it was the worst possible start, really, for Watford. Charlie, the reaction I thought was pretty good. But then there was the incident with Yasser Larouci giving away a penalty. Now, you've seen that incident. I don't think there's any arguments to say it's a stonewall penalty. Is it simply Larouci fault, him diving? Is it simply someone else not tracking their man? How did you see that moment in the game?
Yeah, it just says Stonewall, because even when I watched the highlights, even Hendry was like, was it a penalty? Obviously, he shouldn't be sliding in like that, and you're asking for trouble when you do that. And was it Arblaster kind of saw him coming and thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. So, yeah, like obviously it was a penalty. Interesting one with the Sissoko one as well, which we could maybe talk about in a bit. But I'd have to watch it back in terms of, did we get caught in transition? I think the one thing that I did notice on Sheffield United's attacks was we played quite a high line, and I thought Sheffield United seemed quite direct. Excuse me, like go against me if I got that wrong, but it seemed like they were kind of getting around us and over the top of us, and we were kind of always chasing our tail out of shape. So would a deeper line kind of suited us a bit better. But everything that I've heard people kind of saying, we didn't play too badly. Like the only chance I really saw us was that Bio one, which he should do better, really. That was pretty vintage Bio when he's running through, and just how he tried to take that finish. But yeah, just on the other penalty, I found it funny. In my take on it, the Sissoko one just before half time, I actually thought he fell down and he just landed on, was it O'Hare's foot? So intentionally he wasn't there, but because he's landed on it and because he was on it, I thought he just like kind of, he didn't pull away, he kind of held on to it for a second. So we might have got away with that one, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought he was a lucky boy, Sissoko. In real time, I'm going at the TV. O'Hare's diving. He's gone down way too easily. And then I saw the replay, and I was like, oh, Sissoko. Someone did make the point that was he outside the pitch, and would it have been given as a penalty? I have to say, I think in real time, we know what can happen in the Championship. Wow, I thought we did get away with one there, to be completely honest with you. And I think the Sheffield United fans were pretty aggrieved that they didn't get another penalty in that first half. So we conceded. Potentially could have conceded 2 penalties, but conceded 1. As Charlie mentioned, Bio, I thought should have scored. What a ball, by the way, from Matty Pollock at right centre-back. Really lovely ball, straight through to Bio. And I think that's the one thing with Bio. You just can't put your house. And there's not many strikers in the league that you can put your house on, but he's very unpredictable, Bio, when he gets in those positions. Because I have to say, credit to him. The movement was nice. He peeled off his man on the last man. He's in on goal. But you never felt that he was comfortable in that one-on-one situation. Andrews hit the post in that first half. I thought we had good spells where we got into good wide areas. Larouci and maybe was a bit more on the left-hand side. I felt we were using Chakvedati a lot more on the left than Larouci rather than the right-hand side with Kiembe and Andrews. And that was the one frustration that a lot of Watford fans had, Charlie, was whether Kiembe should have been taken off. And he's become a little bit of a divisive figure, in the sense that some Watford fans like him and think he should start. Some others think he comes at the detriment of the team. He might give us a couple of numbers. He might give us some goals, but is he actually offering more than that? Where do you stand on that debate? Because I think we've had it a couple of games in, but now it feels like it's come to a head a bit more after Sheffield United.
Yeah, obviously I can't really comment on kind of his performance at Sheffield United, but I did see kind of a lot of people kind of moaning about the subs or the personnel. Even I remember one of the chances kind of Sema got done, didn't he, by Shackleton on the right, where they had a good chance from that. And I'm not totally convinced about Ken as that kind of left wing back role, if I'm totally honest either. So Kiembe, I'm not too sure. I think I've said on the last couple of videos, like I think he's in the team because Klebs, for his composure and his ball striking in the final third as a goal threat. But maybe when we're playing better teams and kind of out of possession, we're going to need something a bit better. But who would you replace him with? I mean, we've spoke about it. We want to do a video, don't we, ahead of the next game, kind of picking Watford's best 11. But would Kiembe start as one of the 10s for you? If not, who would?
Yeah, I mean, then you look at the options on the bench and it kind of segues onto the second half, really, because Watford weren't as good as I thought. Well, when I say good, they were good spells in the first half. I thought the reaction to the goal and the reaction to the penalty was good from Watford. Second half, I didn't really feel like we got into the game. I felt we looked quite leggy in midfield, Charlie. I think Sissoko and Dele Bashiru had a real off day, I thought, in the middle of the park. And when those two do, then you're going to struggle to get into the game. As I said, everything was kind of coming through Chakvedetsi in the first half on the left-hand side. Larouci had to be taken off really because he was on a yellow, and that was an accident waiting to happen. So Sema got brought on. And there was a switch to the back four where we kind of went to a 4-1-4-1, if I remember correctly. That change didn't really work. Sema came on for Larouci. Barr came on for Morris. Jebison made his debut and got stuck in for Bio. And Tom Ince got brought on for Georgi Chakvedetsi. No Rocco Vata, no Rajovic coming on. Festi Ebisele, his debut will have to wait as well. Yeah, look, the change didn't have the desired effect. I was surprised Vata didn't come on the pitch. I was surprised that Barr came on as a sort of right midfielder rather than sticking him on the sort of last line defence, the Sheffield United defence. But look, Tom Cleverley, I thought, got that one wrong, and I think a lot of fans would agree on that. In terms of anything else to mention in the second half, not really. It just felt like maybe one game too far for Watford after the first 5 or so. But as I said, I put a tweet out that Cleverley will probably learn more about his team against Sheffield United than the first 5 games, because we had good spells. We struggled in the final third and looked leggy in midfield. The change should have been made sooner. And look, we've got new signings to come in. The individual errors weren't great, but I don't think Watford are far away from bringing a pretty decent team under Tom Cleverley. So it is the first defeat of the season. If you want to see the instant match reaction from Sam, make sure you do go and check that out. I also wanted to mention that tackle from Gustavo Hamer on Dele Bashiru. That is a shocker. Granted, probably not a red, Charlie, but it's naughty, isn't it?
I think it is a red. I think he's just not. He's totally gone to do the player, hasn't he? And it's kind of violent contact. If Tom Dele kind of falls awkwardly, he gets himself injured. But well, how did Jebison get on? I don't know how many minutes. I know he got stuck in against his old teammate, which is good to see. But did he get enough of the ball? What did you make of his cameo?
Well, it was that incident actually that got Jebison really stuck in. He got booed on by the Sheffield United fans. I don't think they liked the way he left the club to join Bournemouth. He came on, there was a couple of runs in behind, but didn't really get involved on the ball. Maybe as much as he would have liked. Tough coming on away from home, 20 minutes. You can't really judge the guy just on that. And I saw a few takes going around that. It's a bad signing already. Like, look, let's calm down here. It's 20 minutes. He's coming away at his former club. He was probably really sort of rolled up for it. I don't think it was the best sort of context to judge a player off. But I guess, Charlie, with Mileta Rajovic leaving the football club to Brøndby on loan, it does just change the dynamic of the striker position. And this was the news release yesterday sort of coming out of the Danish press, and then later confirmed by Andrew French, Adam Leventhal, and then Brøndby officially, that Mileta Rajovic has joined Brøndby on a season-long loan with no option to buy from Watford. Cleverly on Rajovic's loan move said, this is only a loan, and we see this as part of a development plan for Mileta, not an exit plan, Charlie. So Mileta Rajovic, he's going to be out on loan. We do have a recall option in his contract, which can be activated. But your thoughts on that deal, Rajovic leaving to Brøndby on loan?
Yeah, surprised. Came a bit out of nowhere. And then, yeah, it was proper contrasting. I know we done a poll. I think there's nearly 2,000 votes on it. Is it a good decision? Is it a bad decision? I think 65% saying a bad decision, 35% saying it's a good decision. I think I'm leaning slightly towards the bad decision, but I don't hate it. We're going to talk about this transfer window, and my overarching feeling on it is it might not be the best one at the moment, but I think next season or 2 years, it could be one that we look back on and say we needed to kind of get rid of the players that Cleverley didn't like. Hopefully Cleverley is still here, but that thinking, and I think it was clear from pre-season when we saw Vata and Barr starting up front and Bayo instead of Rajovic, that Cleverley obviously doesn't fancy him. Look, he's still a young player. He came over. He was playing kind of really low-level football in recent years. I think his goal record is really, really good. However, I do think Rajovic is one of the biggest eye test footballers you could ever see, because if you watch him and watch what he brings to the team and his out of possession work, it's not great at all, and it can be really detrimental for a team. But then if you look at the numbers in black and white, you think, oh, he can add goals. So my only issue is I would have rather bring him on than Bayo on if we're chasing a game and need a goal, just for that body in we saw against Millwall away. So I would probably lean on towards it being not the best decision considering our squad. It might mean we might see a bit more Dumbia, which could be exciting, but again, he's very, very young. And now obviously Bayo's gone as well, hasn't he, really? We know we've got a loan back, but we haven't got him on the book. So interesting. I'm leaning towards probably I would have kept him, but what do you make of it?
Let's do both sides of it, Charlie, because I was leaning more towards the bad decision. And we had 2,000 votes on our Twitter at WD18 fans, and 64% of those votes were saying it was a bad decision from Watford fans. And I can't remember in recent times, Charlie, unless there's a name that springs to your mind, of a player as divisive as Mileta Rajovic. It's such a fascinating one where, you know, the numbers don't lie. You know, our top goal scorer last season, what he offered in the box, I don't think anyone can deny. He's a good finisher. But his all-round play and what he offers off the ball is nowhere near the standard we're looking for, I think, in the striker in this Tom Cleverley system. So it's a fascinating one, really. Look, what I will say is on the reasons why I think it's happened, Jebbison hasn't come in to sit on the bench on loan. He must have been guaranteed minutes. So immediately Rajovic is going to be on the bench as an option. Bayo has been starting ahead of Rajovic. And whether this is a case of Rajovic saying, look, I need to go out and play minutes at this point in his career, going back to Denmark, somewhere where he knows, there might be personal reasons behind that. We don't know, but there's no reason there. Dumbia will probably get more minutes as a result of this decision. So I can see that sort of logic. But if it was just my call and you said, would you let Rajovic go out on loan, Charlie? I would say no, because sending a striker away who will give us 10 to 15 goals this season, mainly probably off the bench, I think is a risk. I think it's a gamble, especially when you consider it's after the deadline, when we've developed a formation under Tom Cleverley with the wing-backs, where the balls will be coming into the box a lot more often this season. I felt at times under Val that we didn't play to his strengths. You know, I think of the game at home in midweek. I completely forgot who it was against, but it was under the lights and Rajovic. There were 2 crosses into the box from Sema, and both of them he headed inside the 6-yard box. And I see that as sort of the ability that Rajovic gives you, which is the wing backs can get to the byline, get crosses into the box, especially with him coming off the bench, and he can give us points. The move to Denmark, I don't think increases his value, even if he does, you know, smash in 20 goals this season, because maybe of the level. I think he would have been maybe better served going to a League One move on loan than going to Denmark. But my overall reaction, Charlie, was just one that I wasn't a massive fan of it, because, as we said, we know Rajovic has clear limitations. We know defensively he is a weak point for us, and especially, you know, there's a lot of debates about Bayo, but his pressing off the ball and the shape he gives Watford is a massive plus. Rajovic doesn't give you that, and we are weaker with him on the pitch from that point of view. But he knows where to be to score. He can be the difference for a lot of points this season, as we saw at Millwall away on the first day. And look, the glass half empty in me saying we're now having to rely on Jebbison, who I like the look of, I like the sound of him, but hasn't got a consistent championship records in terms of goal scoring. Bayo needs to score more consistently as a result of Rajovic leaving, and Dumbia in his first full season in England has to step up to the plate. So when you consider all those factors and sort of is it a good decision or a bad decision, I'm leaning more towards the bad decision. But if this is Tom Cleverley's call, and we've got to assume it is, then I back him and I trust him. Because I guess the one thing you'd say about when Rob Edwards was here, Charlie, was that maybe he had calls that weren't his calls and ended up getting hung out to dry. So is there anything you wanted to add on Rajovic? I don't know if there's anything we missed on it.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you a bit on the adding the value, because if one, I think Brøndby's a team where he started off in the academy and maybe didn't make it, so he's kind of his club, which is good for him. And Clev's talked about him getting minutes. What would extend his value more if he goes there and scores 10, 15 goals in the Danish top league? I think that'll increase his value more than if he comes off the bench and scores 5 goals for us this season. And obviously we'll just have loads more body of work to analyse, because even last season his minutes was pretty low, considering like he was came in as our number 9. So yeah, I don't hate it, and I think you got it spot on there with your last comment about Clevs. It's clearly a Clevs decision, and if he's going it, we have to back it, because if the club are backing it, like I said, you don't want a player there who's unhappy and just sitting there. At least we're trying to be proactive. But like I said, I do think now, looking kind of ahead to next season, would this decision have been made if we had a bad start and we didn't get 3 wins on the bounce? But I think now, I think we're trusting ourselves to know that we're not going to be in a relegation battle. We know what our objectives are this season. We know we're not going to go up. So I think there's a bit of leeway there to just get a good squad in place, get the building blocks in place, get cleverly working his system, and then start next summer. Hopefully we've got a bit of money in the bank from some of the sales, which we're going to talk about. We're only, like, Bayo's going to go back to Udinese. Dumby is going to be the only real striker we've got. In an ideal world, Jefferson scores 20, 25 goals. Does that mean he'll probably stay at Watford? Probably not. He'll probably move on to a Premier League team that gets promoted. But we'll be in a position where we'll bring in maybe 1 or 2 strikers that we can afford and are going to be of the level. So interesting move. Only time will tell. But yeah, it's caused a lot of conversation yesterday, hasn't it?
It caused a lot of conversation. One that came out of nowhere, actually, because obviously it was the last day of the European transfer window yesterday. The English transfer window shut a little bit sooner, and there was some final sort of deadline day rumours, weren't there, around Rajovic, Charlie? Millwall were interested, reportedly, as well. I've got the other Championship team.
Derby, I think. And Derby. I think even, we might talk about it, but Ferreira went to Braga yesterday, the forgotten man. We obviously still own him, and he got a loan move to Braga. Nice little move for him, that.
Oh, yeah, lovely. What a gorgeous man as well, by the way. Goodness me. What a beautiful man. Rajovic's contract, by the way, expires in June 2028. So he did sign a long-term deal with Watford, which is maybe part of the thinking, getting his value up. I don't know how much that would be, even if he scores a lot, I have to admit. I mean, at Transfermarkt, they value him at 2.5 million euros. We bought him for 1.6 million pounds. So a slight increase when you do the sort of currency exchange. That it's a little bit of an increase from when he first joined Watford. Anyway, we'll see how he gets on at Brøndby. As Charlie mentioned, and a really good point that he did start his career in the youth system there. So that might have been a move that that Rajovic really did want to make happen, and going back to his home country, Denmark, as well. All the best to him over the course of the season. We do have a recall option as well. One player that has come in and was named on the bench at the weekend, Charlie, was Festi Ebisele, who's joined Udinese. Now, this is one that you always felt would happen at some point after he joined Udinese from Derby. It was made very clear that obviously with the Pozzo connection between Udinese and Watford, that surely at some point, if Ebisele isn't going to be playing for Udinese, he would move over to Watford. That's finally happened, Charlie. Before we get your take on it, I know Sam went through his contacts and he said, you know what, I can find a Derby fan. And he found a Derby fan, and this is what they had to say about Festi Ebisele.
Genuinely, one of my favourite ever players to wear a Derby shirt. Pure pace. He was very raw when he was younger, but like the guy was just so exciting to watch. Pure pace, rapid, takes on his man, aggressive. Probably best at wing back. I would love him back, but is he going to you guys?
He is going to us, guys. Charlie.
He is. Here we go. There we land. Yeah, I'm really excited about this, and I don't know, maybe we can kind of rank our top 3 signings when we go through the list in a bit, but I'm really excited about this one. I'm really, really interested. It kind of came, there was a few murmurings about kind of a wing back coming in, and then his name got dropped on deadline day. First time we had a semi-excited deadline day this year, and Jerry got wrapped up pretty quickly. But yeah, looking at his clips, he's an absolute powerhouse at wing back, a bulldozer. Even his days a couple of years ago, even people for dead, tearing through the middle of the pitch or out wide. Obviously didn't get the game time at Udinese for one reason or another, but really exciting player. I think he could play. Udinese played a lot on the left as well, so not just a right wing back, on the left wing back. And we've seen cleverly utilised Ngakia as left wing back in kind of pre-season. So I would not be surprised to see him play on the left as well. Really, really like this one. I think he can be a good player for that. I think it's going to be really good competition for Ryan Andrews as well. But I think he's made for Championship football. Still really young, Ireland international. So yeah, buzzing to see this one really, and looking forward to seeing him play.
I think it's one of those signings, Charlie, where it just ticks every single box in terms of the player's attributes, in terms of the experience, in terms of what Tom Cleverley wants, in terms of the player needs game time. I think everyone is a winner out of this deal, really. And look, I haven't watched a lot of Ebosele at Udinese. I know he's been a bit of a bit part player for them coming in and out of the team, a bit more of a utility player, whereas at Derby, under Wayne Rooney, he was probably one of the best young players in the Championship and attracted so much interest. He's played 36 times in Serie A for Udinese, obviously joining them in the summer of 2022, been there for a couple of years. As Charlie mentioned, he's played for the youth setup in the Republic of Ireland youth setup before getting a senior call-up as well back in May 2022. So it's been a pretty fast and hectic start for Festi Ebosele. He's made his move over to Watford, and I think the biggest attribute, not only with, as Charlie mentioned, the strengths that he can bring to us, but his versatility in this three at the back system, because he can play right wing back, he can provide cover on the left as well, which is such a boost for us. And I think also for someone, when you look at the attributes of what you need from a wing back in this Cleverley system, Ebosele ticks pretty much all the boxes. And then on top of that, the Championship experience at Derby. So smart signing for Watford, smart signing for Tom Cleverley, and all the best to Festi Ebosele. And hopefully he can be a real asset for Watford, which I'm sure he will be. One man who's not at the club anymore, though, Charlie, is Shaq Ford, who's joined Bristol Rovers on deadline day. This is one that popped out of nowhere. Really, I read a few quotes from the Bristol City manager, Matt Taylor, just on this deal. And this was one that they had sort of, they'd had a little bit of a bit of research into. They put the feelers out about Shaq Ford, but at the time, the price for Ford was out of their budget. And things changed on deadline day, whether that was Ford making sure that he got a move away because he wasn't guaranteed game time, whether that was he didn't want another low move, but it was made happen between Watford and the club, Bristol Rovers as well. He makes the move over there and joins on a permanent deal. Part of me, though, Charlie, was a little bit gutted. A little bit gutted, because I think as someone coming through the academy, you always felt that there was the pathway there, and he had good loans at York. He had a good loan at Leyton Orient last season, won their young player of the season. And I just felt with Cleverley coming in, maybe it's an opportunity where he's gone from National League to League One. It was almost expected that he'd be involved this season. Were you surprised that he left? But maybe on a permanent as well?
Maybe the permanent was surprised about. I just think the way that the summer went, he had very limited minutes, even in the friendlies, really. I think that kind of stamped it early that he wouldn't feature as much. And when we're bringing in Vata, when we've seen how effective and how good Barr's been for us in those 10 positions, kind of it just looked like his opportunity at Watford were going to be limited. I was thinking, do we just have another loan? And if he does have another great season in League One, then we can kind of integrate him. But I think the club, when I quickly had a look, I think someone reported it was a six-figure sum. So who knows what that'd be, whether it's 900,000 or 250,000, but a bit of money back from a academy player. Obviously, he's gone through the academy, really good mates with Ryan Andrews. So I know Ryan probably ashamed to see him go, but look, he's got to go. He's going to be a key player for Bristol Rovers this season, and I really hope he does well. There might be a little cheeky sell-on clause in there, but I think it's such a better solution than having him on the bench and not doing anything. So although we would have liked to see our academy players coming through, maybe just unrealistic, and this was the best solution for all parties. So wish him best of luck. Really hope we can see him smashing it for Bristol Rovers this season. And who knows, he may return one day. It's not like Watford don't bring players back, is it?
Oh, we love a return. 3-year deal to Bristol City for Shaq Ford. All the best to him. Come through the Watford Academy and had a great loan spell at Leyton Orient last season. So we see how he gets on at Bristol Rovers. He made the move on deadline day. And that kind of wrapped up our business, Charlie, in terms of arrivals and departures. And we've got a list of all the Watford players that arrived to the club and left the club as well. Charlie's put together a little graphic. So if you're not watching on YouTube, apologies. We'll read them out as well, just from left to right. We'll start with the arrivals and then Charlie can do the departures. So Pierre Duomo joined from Royal Antwerp, Kevin Caben from Toulouse, Kai from Fluminense, Vata from Celtic, Doumbia from Black Stars, Moussa Sissoko was a free, Ogbonna was a free, as was Jonathan Bonds, Daniel Jebison from Bournemouth was a loan, and then 4 more loans with Ebisele from Udinese, Larouci from Troyes, Bayer from Udinese, and Tikvic from Udinese. Charlie, run us through the departures.
Departures, the big money moves. Yasser Asprilla going to Girona, 20 million fee. We know that's probably going to rise to 25 million with add-ons. Earlier on in the window, Ismail Kone heading over to France to play for Marseille under Roberto De Zerbi. 15 million. I think there's a couple of add-ons for those as well. Sadly, Wesley Hoot to El Shabab, 1.5 million. I think Andrew French hinted at maybe 1.5 between that and £2 million. Vacuum Bio obviously going to Udinese on a permanent, then getting loaned back. Shaq Ford, as mentioned, to Bristol Rovers. And then the frees, Jake Livermore, Ben Hamer, 2 key players for us last season. Less key players for us last season, Ashley Fletcher, Samuel Kalu. And then the loans, like we've just spoken about, Rajovic to Brøndby, João Ferreira to Braga yesterday. And then Hurtado went to Greece on loan. And yeah, I've just got here as well, kind of looking at our profit and loss. So players that we bought in, we've spent about 2.5 million, 3.2 million euros. So you can see we're splashing the cash there compared to what we bought in. So we bought in about 30 million euros. So yeah, you can see a massive profit there for about 25 million pounds this summer.
When you look at it on paper, Charlie, and we asked the question to you guys who follow us on our social accounts, how would you rate Watford's transfer window out of 10?
Yeah, tough one. Interesting what a couple of days being a Watford fan can do, because I reckon before yesterday people would be more on the 7 and 8s after kind of Jefferson and Ebisele, but I think after Rajovic it's probably gone down a bit. I'm going to go for the positive side, and maybe I do think it's a 7. Like I said, I want to reiterate, I think next summer, the fact that we'll have a squad of, and we've kind of, if you look at all of our business, how young the players are, I can look at here, transfer market, our average age for the incomings is 24 compared to kind of the outgoings, which is 26. Not a lot of difference there, but you can look at Wesley Hoot going, Jake Livermore, Ben Hamer, all on the older scale, and we're bringing in all players seem young. Vata, Doumbia, obviously Sissoko and Ogbonna adding a bit of experience. I would say I'd give it a 7, and I think we've got a really decent young squad there. Have we brought in signing that's going to help us challenge for the playoffs? I'd say absolutely not. But I think for kind of squad building purposes, and if we can stick with cleverly this season and bringing in the likes and the quality of Jefferson, Ebisele playing Udinese. Jefferson's been playing Premier League games this season. Larouci was in the Premier League last season. I think the quality's increased. And obviously we've lost massive quality in Asprilla and Kone. But considering we know our limitations in terms of budget, bringing the money in we've needed to keep the club kind of sustainable, I think it's a 7. And I think it's going to look a lot better this time next season, when hopefully we're going to have a year under Cleves, and then we'll be able to target, plug in positions and bring in real quality to kind of help us get us to the next step. What do you think? Are you 7, higher or lower?
I'm lower than a 7. I'm lower than a 7. I'm lower than a 7. I'm going to go with a 6, I think. I'm going to go with a 6. I would say a lot of it's a 5 harsh. No,
Sam would have gone for a 4 or a 5, no doubt.
Okay, I'll go 5.5. We'll do half points. I'll go 5.5. The reason I've gone 5.5 is because if you look at it on paper, and I understand why they've gone, but we have lost our player of the season in Wesley Hoot. We have lost our young player of the season in Yasser Asprilla. And now we've also lost our top goal scorer in Mileta Rajovic. Now, I know that doesn't tell the whole story, because we were going to always sell Asprilla. We were always going to sell Kone. Hoot was the one that caught me off guard a little bit. I thought he would be here come the start of the season as club captain at the end of the last season. And Rajovic was one that I don't think anyone saw really happening, particularly on loan, which makes a little bit less sense. I think if we were getting a cash return for Rajovic, you'd go, okay, at least we've made something on him, but we kind of let him go out on loan and not really got a replacement in there for me. I think also you look at the arrivals, again, a lot of them depend on potential. I think Duomo's a perfect example, played under 21s against Sheffield United yesterday. So he's not an instant player to come in. He's more of a longer-term project. Kevin Caben, a more of a longer-term project, even at 20. Kai, a longer-term project. Vata, a longer-term project. Dumbia, a longer-term project. Then you throw in the couple of, I guess, is journeyman the right word, Charlie? Sissoko, Ogbonna less so, but more experienced veterans. I think veterans is probably the word.
I think we can see how good Sissoko's been, and like if you look at all the lists we brought in, Larouchi's made a bit of an impact as well. It's hard to judge really because we haven't seen the majority players. We don't know how good Jefferson's going to be. If he scores 20 or 25 goals, we're going to be saying it's unbelievable. We don't really know how good Festi Eberseli's been, and like you said about the younger players, but Sissoko has been one that surprised a few, but it's clear that he's going to be a key player for us this year.
Yeah, I think he is. I think what I learned at the weekend was that he can't play every game. I think we kind of had that suspicions before. He can't play every game. But just to wrap up, so we had three free transfers. Sissoko, I think Ogbonna, but needs to get match fit. Jefferson is, for me, 50-50 because, as I said, and you can check out the video Charlie did with Dino Mamaria on him, he's got all the attributes, but it's whether he can deliver in this Watford team. I think we said similar things about Keenan Davis in terms of what he could bring, and he didn't. So that's kind of why I'm just slightly half-glass empty there. I think Ebesele is a fantastic signing for us. Larouchi, I think, will be a great signing, particularly in this left wing-back system. Bayo, I'm not counting. And then Tikvik, we'll see. But probably... So do you see why maybe I'm a little bit more half-glass empty on the signings and the arrivals? I think Watford have done well to clear out dead woods in that respect. João Ferreira, Hurtado leaving, Ashley Fletcher, Hamer, Livermore, etc. Samuel Kalu. That's good to get them off the wage bill. And we've obviously made a bit of money on Shaq Ford, and we made a lot of money on Espria, Kone, and a little bit on Wesley Hoot, I'd like to think as well, probably about the same price. So I think it's probably about 40 million we've received in transfers, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously add-ons count, but I think the one thing that's kind of got me more on the positive side, and it's not got down to any of these players here, it's what we've seen at the start of the season under Tom Cleverley and the noises and the context. And we've had previous season, apart from Tikvik maybe, but we've had previous season when there's been deals and we're like, we know the head coach doesn't want that, or the head coach wanted to get this, but it feels like there's finally a bit of symmetry between kind of the board and the head coach, even with Rajovic, which may be the most controversial transfer. So I think Cleverley will look at this one and I think he'll be happy with it. And not just saying he'll be happy, I think he'll honestly be happy because like we saw with Jefferson, kind of the reports after that, like 15 other clubs were going after him. He's been playing in the Premier League. So that's why, because of the results we've seen and how we've performed so far this season, I'm confident in Clevs that he's kind of got his fingerprints all over this and he'd be happy with it. And if Clevs is happy, I'm happy. But let us know what you guys think in the comments. Out of 10, rate this window.
Give us your ratings. Charlie, should we have a look at the keep, sell or loan list that we did at the start of the summer as well? Obviously, every year we do it. We have a look through which players we think will leave, which players we think will go, etc., etc. We did the predictions, Charlie, and this was the results. So keep, well, the list is too long, but we had Miles Roberts go out on loan. He did. Morris didn't leave. Hurtado did go. Barr didn't leave. Adeyemo didn't go. Sell, Ferreira, correct. Ince didn't go. Livermore released. Loser didn't go. That surprised me, actually. I think if he hadn't got injured, I think Loser would have gone. Samuel Kalu released. Espria definitely went. And Ashley Fletcher went as well. But on that keep list, Charlie, the ones that are jumping out to me, Ben Hamer, Wesley Hoot, Ishmael Kone, Jack Greaves, Mateus Martins, Shaq Ford, Bayo we're not going to count, but that's 6 players there who we thought would be here and they're not.
Rajovic as well.
Rajovic as well, yeah. Interesting.
I think if you looked at this and maybe looked at some of the people that went, you'd be shocked. We've got James Morris there as to be loaned out. Has he started every game for us? I think he might have so far this season, and he's been pretty good. Quando Bar as well. We said we wanted him to loan out, and then sell. We've got Tom Ince as well. Loser, I think you may be right. He might have gone. And João Ferreira. So, what do you reckon? Are we miles off? Yeah, we are, aren't we? But how can you tell, really?
6 or 7 players that we expected to stay. Which one surprised you the most, though, out of all the ins, outs, shake it all abouts?
I think Wesley Hoot. Should we be surprised because of his contracts? But I just thought because he was so key for us last season, and I think he will be the biggest miss out of all of them. I think Ismail Kone is the most talented, and that kind of came out of nowhere, really. We thought we could at least get another season from him, and then Rajovic as well. So I don't really know how to feel about looking at this list, whether we're miles off it, but I'm not feeling too dejected or too angry. Just shows kind of how mad football is and things move. And if you showed me a completely different list, I wouldn't have been. So I think it's funny looking back, but I'm really hoping James Morris and Quadro Bar can have important seasons, because that can kind of show us, look, you can't judge players who have had limited minutes and not had the opportunity at clubs.
Should we have a look at where that leaves us squad depth-wise, Charlie, in terms of each position? Because there were concerns about the striker position, obviously, with Rajovic leaving. Whether those concerns are justified, let us know in the comment section below. But this is where we're kind of at in terms of sort of squad depth. For people who can't see, Charlie, just run us through sort of, which positions we're strong in, which positions we're not, and, your thoughts there.
Yeah, I've been quite optimistic, especially with the youth here. So some players, so we've got Backman and Bond in goal as our goalkeepers. Right centre-back, Porto and Caden. Centre-backs, we've got Siralta, Ogbonna and Claridge. And I do think Ogbonna will kind of get in that team over Siralta. Pollock, left centre-back, James Morris, Kai and Titsvich. So that kind of left side, we've got quite a few. Larucci and Sema, left wing-back. And then Sissoko, Loser, Ramirez, Espan, who I've included there because I think he's had a great pre-season and made his debut in competitive action. Tom Dele-Bashiri and Duomo as the midfielders. I know, Jacob, I'll ask you about the midfielders because we kind of looked at kind of the transfers of who we want, but is that the area of concern, that the midfield depth, or is there another area, and is that an area we should have kind of targeted as another midfielder to bring in?
That's the one concern for me, Charlie. I think a lot of this season really does depend if we can keep Dele-Bashiri fit. You know, I've said it many times in the show in terms of what he can bring to this Watford team, what he does bring to this Watford team, and how important he is to this Watford team. And I don't think we've got another player. I think Ramirez of Spain actually has similar attributes to Dele-Bashiri, but it's a lot to put on a 17-year-old so early on. But Dele-Bashiri is the one player, and obviously we'll have to see with Duomo, but I get the impression he's more of a... Charlie, you probably know a little bit more on Duomo, but I got the impression he's not as much of a Dele-Bashiri sort of player. He's more box-to-box.
Yeah, no, you're right. He's not like 100-touch man. He's box-to-box. He's like a Kone. He's like Sissoko, really, in that term. So I think Loser's more of the... I mean, you could argue Loser's not really a 6. So maybe, like you said, that defensive midfielder who can dictate tempo is someone that we were missing. And am I right in saying we still were trying to get someone in, that centre midfielder, like towards the end of deadline day?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, this. So if you follow some of the Watford forums and some of the reliable accounts on there, the rumour that was going around was that we put in a late bid for Hector Cipriano, the captain at Peterborough, 23 years of age. I have to admit, I was surprised he was the captain at Peterborough just so early on in his career, but I think Peterborough see him as their most valuable asset in terms of his potential and in terms of his ceiling. Watford, if you remember, tried to go in for him in January under Valérien Ismaël and made a late move for him, and that was well documented. And I think that was confirmed, Charlie, at the time by Dara McAntony, yes, the Peterborough owner, who basically said, like, look, Watford made a bid, but we didn't have any time to sort of get a replacement in. And that was the player, and he would have come in at centre mid. I have to admit, I think that says a lot about what we're maybe missing, Charlie. I think Cipriano would have been a great signing for us. Granted, again, you have to caveat with, I don't watch Peterborough week in, week out, but I spoke to someone who has played with him and he's got a lot of attributes that I think we're looking for in terms of defensively minded as well. And I think that's probably my biggest concern here, Charlie. I think Dele Bashiru and Sissoko, on a good day, they're both fully fit. Great partnership. There's a nice balance there. If you take one of them out, you're then relying on Duomo, you're relying on Loser, and then Ramirez of Spain. Would not surprise me, mate, if he plays a lot more minutes this season before January, because there'll be a point where we're going to be a bit leggy in that midfield. It seems like Duomo might be coming in quicker than first expected. Loser's injured. And look, I wouldn't be against that because I think there's a real high ceiling for the guy.
Yeah, I don't mind it. That's why I put Claridge as well. I know he captained the under-21s. And just on the under-21s, my colleagues at the Coach's Voice are soon to be going down London Colney to be filming some content. So keep an eye out for that. That'd be really good to watch. A little exclusive there. But yeah, like if we don't mind seeing the youngsters in, you said about Tom Dele replacement, who's that number 6, get it back from midfield, have all those touches. Probably Ramirez expands that player. So yeah, I would not hate it at all. Let me just rattle off the rest for anyone who's listening. In the 10s, we've got Kayembe and Chatfidazzi who've been starting, Rocco Vata, Quadro Bar, still the experienced Tom Ince, and then up front we've got our trio of Jebison, our new signing Vacuum Bio from Udinese, and our young Mali striker Dumbia. So that's the squad. Give us a rating about what you think of the transfer window and let us know what you think about the squad depth there. Interesting
it is, and some interesting questions coming in. We put out a tweet at WD18 fans, sort of a mailbox segment. If you'd like to see more of these, then let us know in the comment section below. As always, just to wrap up today's episode, thanks so much to everyone who's watched, listened. If you could leave us a rating if you're listening as well, that would be much appreciated. Okay, the first one came in from my colleague, good mate of mine, Harry Simew. How many points are Watford going to win the championship by? Charlie?
The record's 106 from Reading, I think.
Reading, yeah.
Something like that. So 109, I reckon.
109. On that, Simon Watford FC says, what are our ambitions for the season now? Where the start of the season, we feared a very stuffed season. Has your expectations changed and ambitions, Charlie, after the first 5 or 6 now?
Yeah, I wouldn't count the cup games, especially because we played stronger teams and kind of the opposition played weakened teams, even MK Dons. I still think we should have the same mindset as we did at the start of the season, and not the negative mindset we were having, but the mindset of it could be a tough season. The quality of players we have compared to other championship squads is a lot weaker, in my opinion. But we have got Tom Cleverley, and what he's done early signs has been fantastic. I would much rather make a kind of call on our expectations after 10 games. We've got a tough stretch of games coming up, but really positive start. I think if you ask any Watford fan how many points after the first 4 games, 9 points, everyone would have loved. So yeah, I'm hoping we can get around that mid-table and have some good times this season and have some exciting games and play some good football and building it under Clevs. But that's where I'm at. But I mean, championship can change after a week with like Saturday, Tuesday games. So I don't think we should be sailing to the sunset or thinking about playoffs or anything like that. Not saying that it won't happen, but very unlikely. I just think let's just get this season with kind of under Clevs and Clevs ball and build from there.
Yeah, agreed. Chris at Norden Wooter said, Phil Rajovic guarantees 10-goal minimum a season. Not sure current strikers will match this, and Kayembe Ince will struggle to continue scoring run. Where do you see the goals coming from? I'm happy to take this one. Look, I think, and that kind of links into Sammy Walt's 11's question, which is who's the third choice striker now? I think you look at the sort of ranking, Charlie, for that striker system. I think you go Jebison, as I think he's been brought in to start. You then go Bio. Then you go, I reckon you go Bar over Dumbia as a number 9. I think Cleverley will look at him over Dumbia. I actually wouldn't surprise if Bar turned out to be our number 9 at some point this season, because he has actually got the attributes, I think, to excel in that sort of 3 up front formation as well. So going back onto your question, Chris, I think it will have to be shared amongst them. I think it will have to rely on Chatfidazzi's numbers to go up, which has been probably my biggest thing with him. I think Chatfidazzi's easily our best player in terms of talent and the level he's played at, particularly as we saw at the Euros. But does he have the numbers to maybe reflect his ability? I think that needs to improve his end. And then you're hoping like a Kiembe, as he did against Stoke, chips in with goals. And you look across the pitch at set pieces, Matty Pollock, etc. The big guys at the back to chip in as well, Charlie. So
how many shots has Andrews had already this season? And I think who knows what Festi Baselli can do and Laruzzi. So I think this system is very much built towards, especially the 10s, but it's not reliant on that number 9 scoring all the goals. It's built about a team and a shape, which I think that's why Jebison and the profile of getting him in. And that's why I think we let Rajovic go, because that's the important part, the high press, getting everyone up the pitch and involved. But yeah, I'm not too, I don't think it'll be one person who'll get the goals, but I think you made an excellent point there about Bar featuring, and especially as kind of that lone striker at points this season.
For sure, for sure. One from Jake, Charlie, Jake Rice, 76. Who do you reckon this free agent midfielder will be that will be signing? Now, I don't know if it's definite that we will be signing, but Charlie, there are a few names that have been chucked out. One man in particular that I threw out into the mix was Etienne Capoue, who still remains without a football club. And I apologise to anyone who spent deadline day. I got some mentions with people basically saying, you've started this rumour. I spent my deadline day checking Twitter to see if Capoue's joined. I knew nothing. I know nothing anyway. But it was just something to throw out there because I went on Transfermarkt and that man was there. But Charlie, run us through maybe a couple of names that could be an option for us.
Yeah, just if anyone's watching on video, I've just brought up like the free agent centre midfielders that are available on Transfermarkt. But Dennis Pratt, does that seem like a Watford signing? Obviously, he was in part of the Leicester squad who got promoted last season, so he's got that championship experience. I know Dele Alli. Pardon?
Stuart Armstrong there. Southampton.
Yeah, I thought he had a club. I'm surprised. He'd be a great signing. Honestly, he'd be fantastic. There's some decent names in there. Marco van Ginkel. I saw Dele Alli's name on here. It's hard to tell. The free agent Jeff Hendrick, he was last season. I'm not sure. Is there any names on here that have caught your eye, Jacob?
There was only one that we've been linked with before, which was James Lear-Saliki when he was at Rennes. And we were linked with him a couple of years ago. And just maybe one to keep an eye on, because we always we're linked with players and then we end up having a little flirt with them in the transfer market. So that might be one just to mention. But let us know any shouts that you have in the comment section. And look, Etienne Capoue comes back, I think we'll all be happy. We'll be straight down to the club shop. Just a couple of questions to run through before we wrap up today. Axel, we've done your question about rating our transfer window out of 10. Rich T says, classic Rich T, do you think Kiembe is a suitable option for centre mid if there are some injury troubles, or do you think he'll play as a 10 this year? Is Ramirez Span higher up the pecking order? Last question, I think he is. I think Ramirez Span will be playing at some point this season in the Championship. And I get the impression that Kiembe will be used as an emergency option in central midfield. And he's a player that we're playing in more of the attacking areas and someone that he can bring on. Let's say there's a spell where we do have Kiembe from the bench. You can bring him on in both areas. Andrew Mitchell says, just on Rajovic, a lot coming in about Rajovic, Charlie. Why was the Rajovic loan completed after the close of the window and confirmation that Ford was sold as well? Is Tom Cleverley right and just being happy with 3 unproven strikers plus Bar, or is he going to play a false 9 going forward? We all know that Bio isn't the answer.
Yeah, I think you answered that previously, and you just mentioned about kind of that option of Bar, which I think a lot of people aren't thinking about, and going into this video, I wasn't thinking about. So thank you, Jacob, for such insight and enlightenment. Maybe we'll get you in the dugout next to Clevs, but Clevs has made that call. We've discussed the kind of pros and cons to it, but yeah, I think the big thing for me is just how good Daniel Jebison's going to be, and I think the way we've gone after him and the way we were patient, the way we even let him play 2 games for Bournemouth in the negotiation just shows he has got a bit of pressure on him, but I think he is a really, really talented player and the perfect kind of profile for what Clev's on. So I'm hoping Jebbo could do the business. And
shout out to Danielle38, who said, do you think Watford will be looking for free agents? Only instance we've seen lately are Asambalonga and Bakuna due to injuries, and Nkulu in early 2022. So they were 3. Whether we do bring in a free agent, we'll have to wait and see as well. Charlie, what a pleasure. Thanks so much to everyone who watched and listened today. If you could leave a like on the way out, subscribe to WD18, follow myself and Charlie on our social channels. Our apps are just below us, and WD18 at WD18 Fans. As always, this video is brought to you in partnership with Hertfordshire Minds. All the links and the details are in the description below to join in our initiative for £1 for every goal Watford score this season. Hope you have a great rest of your week. We will see you maybe at some point in the international break, and we'll have a catch up about Watford. But until then, take care of yourselves and up the Hornets. You would.